Well, you're talking about a tendency to remove religious symbols from public life, crosses, prayers, Ten Commandments, and that, and you've pointed out that spearheading that or on the forefront of it would be the more passionate or activist judges with regard to secularizing America. But you got to understand the way I look at America. Reinhold Niebuhr wrote a book, Children of Light, Children of Darkness. Niebuhr was a Christian theologian. Taught at Union Seminary in New York, and was an advisor to presidents and to Winston Churchill and stuff like that. Incredibly smart man. And what he's known for being really smart with is just really understanding culture, politics, religion, and just, what that really looks like. And he wrote this whole book, Children of Light, Children of Darkness, and it's kind of bleak, but he says, hey, here's the real problem. Democracy is built on the idea of equality, that people have rights, and it's built on the idea that because they have rights, because they're made in the image of God, I can't deny them their rights, which means freedom of speech. They deserve to be able to have their peace and to say their say. Remember, the Protestants, the Puritans that were being thrown in prison, a lot of which immigrated to the States, they didn't have the freedom of speech in England, even though England was a Christian country. It was Christian by virtue of the Church of England, but if you were a dissenter to that, you didn't have freedom of speech. So a lot of these Christians that didn't have freedom of speech for their Christianity in the Christian nation of England came over to America, and they really valued free speech. That even if it's going to be a different strand of Christianity or even a different religion altogether, that this matters and I have to somehow be able to value that. Well, that's all built on rights that people have because they're made in the image of God, and do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. So Niebuhr was saying, listen, democracy has to have Judeo-Christian values to get going and to actually work. But by definition of being a democratic society, that it's not a Christian society or a Jewish society or an Islamic state or society. We don't have Sharia law. We also can't have Christian law. We're a democratic, pluralistic society. He says, by virtue of a democracy being a pluralistic, secular society where the government has to be neutral in all things religion, he says it gets going, a democracy, by Christian values, but over time it will necessarily, by definition, out-educate from its society the values that gave rise to it in the beginning. And so he says it's got a lifespan to it because it just will necessarily flow out a certain way. And so what you're talking about is exactly what Niebuhr predicted, but he would have said, I can't argue against that. Because if there's 10 commandments on that lawn, why can't a Muslim person come and put a carving of the Quran right next to it? And if we're going to talk about prayer in school, how many prayers, we always think about it in terms of a Christian prayer in school. But every single person in that school that has a faith other than Christianity, if we were going to do prayer in school, would have a right to have a prayer in their tradition as well. So now you've got 40 minutes of praying through 20 different religions at the beginning of the school day. It's really impossible for the government's education system, the secular education system, the neutral education system, to favor or advantage Christianity. And what we're beginning to deal with is the fact that because we were predominantly a Christian nation, Christianity was advantaged in a lot of ways. And I like that because I'm a Christian. But that doesn't really give me the ability to say, I don't like that when certain privileges are beginning to be taken away. I don't really have an argument to stand on to keep those things in society or the public space. I have a right to my opinion. I have a right to be able to rent this building because anyone can rent it. I have the right to be able to say whatever I want to without somebody arresting me or whatever. But I don't have the right for Christianity to be privileged in our society by a secular government. That's a hard case to make. So as we begin to see more and more of the repeal of this, I've expected it for a long time, ever since I read Niebuhr. And I think we've seen it coming, and it's happened in waves and in stages, and it's very unpleasant, because we're going from a position of greater to lesser as Christians. We're even going from a position of privilege to one of persecution in a lot of ways, where we're being not just losing advantages, but we're being disadvantaged unfairly for being Christians. And so there's a very interesting, complex conversation going on there. But what I think we have to do is break it out and say, we can't fight for the federal government, public, secular things to advantage Christianity. We have to fight against the public, secular, pluralistic, democratic government disadvantaging Christians because of our faith. That's not okay. And so there are organizations, ACLJ, is that one? I don't know if I'm getting the acronym right, but there are organizations out there fighting those court cases to say, whoa, you went this far, but you went too far. And I think that's what we do have to jump in on. And we have to learn, and I'm not the best at this. I mean, I haven't really studied it. I'm not a scholar. But we have to go in and learn which belong to which category. Like which ones are the fair ones to let go of, but which are the ones that we really need to fight for because they are rights that we have as Christians in this country. And so I think the organizations that are fighting for those, people that are doing that, if it's something that you're passionate about, reading broadly so that you know you're getting different perspectives on the subject, and then being able to go in and try and help teach people in the local context, local government, to make sure that Christianity is getting its fair due, just like other religions should get their fair due. So it's a way bigger question than we can deal with in one answer, but hopefully that teases it out a little bit. And you'd have to get it used, but Reinhold Niebuhr's book is called Children of Light, Children of Darkness. And you can also read Moral Man and Immoral Society would be another place to get at Niebuhr.